Hey everyone, for today's video I'll be going over the kit of the new Noble Flame MIRA that's coming with the next update after the maintenance on the 25th. Jumping right into it though, she's a fire human and her slots are 6-star physical, 5-star magic, and 4-star heal or magic. It goes without saying, but that 4-star magic on her LB7 is horrible and I'd heavily recommend against doing it. Maybe there can be an argument for LB6 for the fire summoner's road equip, but definitely not LB7. For her skill, it increases her arts by 30 with a 12-second CT. It's alright, I guess. 2.5 arts a second. It's fairly mediocre in regards to art gen skills, although definitely better than nothing. For her arts, it does 20,000 fire damage physical and lowers the enemy's physical resist by 60% for 20 seconds. Not the worst. It's a pretty sizable debuff to be fair, and the duration is solid, although it would have been nice had it been a 30-second duration so you wouldn't have to spam it as often. For her true arts, it does 60,000 fire damage physical, and for 17 seconds, all allies get 6 arts a second, or 8 if they're a fire unit, and it's type B arch gen. The support is insane, 102 arts for the entire team, or 136 if you're a fire unit. The arch gen support is the strongest we've seen in a while for sure. Running her on a fire team is definitely going to be optimal. The only time you'd run her there is if you need an art genner and you don't have anyone else, and with her art gen being a type B, you'll have a lot of the stronger type B art genners locked from this team, including Haruto, Emperor, and Juno, but this will definitely make the team, especially in a fire one, run really fast. As for her super art, it does 160,000 fire damage physical, and for 30 seconds, she increases her own crit rate and attack by 100%. The damage from this is definitely going to be really solid considering the mixture of a high modifier, attack buff, and the crit, and with the mixture of her passives, her damage can get even higher. Speaking of which, her passives include 50% super crit rate to enemies under 80% HP, 80% poison resist, and 50% damage to enemies under 30% HP. That super crit rate is pretty wild, as the only condition is the HP of the boss needing to be lowered, but at the same time I was never really a huge fan of units that got stronger near the ends of a fight, as it leaves them very weak at the beginning, the biggest example being Philo, who is somewhat usable, but the enemy has to be pretty low health, which I feel defeats the purpose of a DPS. That's not to say MIRA is useless, of course, because her super art can definitely still do a bunch of damage even without super crit, but once she does get that super crit, her damage will dominate, especially considering it's always active. The 50% damage when the enemy's below 30% HP is also solid, but as I mentioned before, it having to be below 30% HP is unfortunate, but it is better than nothing. And considering there are bosses that get damage resist the lower their health is, that passive could definitely shine. As for her true weapon, it's a 5-star physical, and for 12 seconds, it reduces the enemy's fire resist by 40%. If the user is fire, they get 30% accuracy as well. When it's used on MIRA, she gets 10% skill CT recovery, and 50 arts at the start of the quest, as well as 20% damage up and break. All things considered, this true weapon feels fairly mid. The passive arts at the start is nice, as is the fire resist down, but everything feels mediocre, especially the skill CT and accuracy. It'd be nice to have on her, but by no means necessary at all. There are lots of better equips to place here. And overall, MIRA seems to be a solid fire supporter. She's a mix of support and DPS, which is certainly nice, with a focus on fire teams. Of course, the only thing in her kit geared towards fire units is that extra 34 arts on true art, so it's not like she can't go on any other team, but placing her with a lot of the meta fire supporters, including Valentine's Priscilla, Rin, Sunraku, or Gabimaru, is gonna make both her and the team very impressive for sure. And I didn't mention it before, but one extra thing I thought was kind of weird about her kit is that she starts to get really strong the lower the enemy's HP is, from below 50% for the super crit and then below 30% for the 50% damage. But the thing is, for bosses in the game that are pretty hard, including the Nova Crest, including the last stage and stage 3, as well as a lot of summoners road stages, bosses either gain crit resist when below 50% HP, case in point the Nova Crest, or become significantly easier, more specifically stage 3 of the Nova Crest against Regulus, when once you're past that point you pretty much have it down. So like I was saying earlier, it is unfortunate that it takes her so long to get the buffs that she needs, but it is definitely better than nothing, and considering how much that super crit is going to be boosting her damage, it'll definitely finish it off quite quickly. But as for whether or not you should summon coming for her. It's somewhat hard to say. She's alright, but she isn't exactly needed by any measure. She can definitely be made to look impressive, but she's somewhat lacking in my opinion. I'll definitely do a 50 and maybe even a couple ALKs, but I wouldn't go too deep for her, especially considering that Summer Iris should eventually come somewhat soon, who in my opinion outclasses her in pretty much every way, except for total arts gauge amount, but that's about it. Let me know what your thoughts are about the banner and who you're gonna chase, if at all, and if you did enjoy, be sure to like and sub for more, and thanks for watching.